Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our NTUC LearningHub webinar series. Thank you for your time. Okay, today's session, we're going to talk about why data analytics is important in today's decision making. We'll start the session today at 3 p.m. and then we'll have a speaker who's going to talk about why data analytics is so important in today's decision making, and followed by a Q&A session that will be happening at 4:15 p.m. Okay. The speaker we're going to introduce, I allow him to talk more about himself to you. Okay, his name is Mr. Aditya. He is partnered with NTUC LearningHub for more of our data analytics courses and projects with us. Okay, I will just allow this time and I'll pass it to Mr. Aditya to introduce more of himself. Okay, Mr. Aditya.
All right, thank you, Edmund. I'm going to share my screen also, and I'll introduce myself. Once I do that, just give me a sec. All right, can you just confirm, or anybody confirm to me that you can see the slides and can hear me?
Yes, we can see your slides.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Edmund. All right, good afternoon, all of you, and thank you, Edmund, for the introduction as well. So as Edmund mentioned, today's topic is why data analytics is. And to give you a short introduction about myself, I am basically the founder of one of the training education companies in Singapore called Exaltis, and we work with NTUC LearningHub quite closely on the data analytics portfolio of courses, be it on Excel or Python and so on. And then we know each other quite well since a while. And personally, about myself, I have a master's in data science. That's how I gained a lot more knowledge in this field, and I pursued a lot of courses myself to get a technical deep dive. And I have more than 11 years of experience in various domains associated with data, like the data science, machine learning, computer vision, both theoretical and practical knowledge. Since prior to this, I worked in consulting and other areas. So where I come from is more from a practical perspective of how data analytics actually works in the industry today, its applicability. And what I'm going to try to do is ease you all into trying to understand, how you can kickstart your journey or, enhance your data capabilities by upskilling and learning more about this domain. So that's a little bit about me. And once again, my name is Aditya. You can call me Adi for short. Today's agenda, roughly about the next 1 hour or so, is going to cover what data analytics is, both an introduction as well as a short background of data analytics. Then we're going to talk about how data analytics is transforming the world. So specifically, across different industry sectors, how analytics is being perceived, how is that industry progressing with the help of the use of analytics. Then what are some of the current analytics trends in the industry? So these are things that you might have seen around you, you might have experienced it, you might be part of that data analytics trend as well. And then we will go to some Q&A towards the end. But that being said, if you have a question at any point in time, feel free to queue it up on the Q&A tab, and then we'll get to the questions towards the end altogether. So let's get right to it. Now, we'll start off with a very interesting concept, or a very interesting trend or word that all of you are hearing today. Right? Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0. Now, what does this signify for us, and how is that related to what we are going to be doing today and understanding today? Now, we all know that the Industrial Revolution started a long time back, right? And since the Industrial Revolution began, we have gone through many cycles of Industrial Revolution. So it all started with the first Industrial Revolution, where mechanical energy was produced using water and steam, right? That's how you have steam engines and stuff. That's how things started off way back, right? About 300-400 years ago. Now, obviously, people are finding ways to do things better. So that kicked off the second industrial revolution, where electricity and generation of electricity became more prominent. So electric power kind of became the norm and was used for mass production of different things. Now, third industrial revolution came about a few decades ago, a century ago at the max, where electronics and information technology was starting to become more prevalent to automate production and automate a lot of things, right? Now, that third industrial revolution is what kickstarted what many of us are doing today, right? Using computers, using technology, using different gadgets for different things. So today we are in the Industry 4.0 cycle, wherein the Industry 4.0 that we are in today incorporates a lot of things that we are doing with computers and technology in general. Now, before we get to that, a small quote from James Dyson. What he said was that if we are trying to create something new, it's not going to happen just like that. You just think about it and it's going to happen. It takes a lot of research, a lot of effort, and it's every small incremental step that is going to get you there, right? So that's what James Dyson said, and that every small step kind of cumulatively becomes a giant leap. That's what we're all aiming at. So in came Industry 4.0, and Industry 4.0 is, was something which was driven by automation, cloud technology, AI, Internet of Things. And you've heard about all these buzzwords in and around you today, right? Be it from your colleagues at work, be it from some of your coworkers and so on, right? So Industry 4.0 created a very big revolution, which combined cyber physical systems, so systems which were both operated by computers as well as by people. Then you had Internet of Things and Internet of Systems, devices that could, transfer data from one point to the other very fast, devices that could help operate these cyber physical systems. So all these things is what made Industry 4.0 very, very revolutionary. And you are seeing that as of today, so many new things are being created around information technology, right? New softwares, new applications, new gadgets, new products, and so on, right? Now, the iPhone 14 is going to be launched in a few days. And imagine the capability that it has with the help of, all this technology and electronics that we have at our disposal in this industrial revolution, right? Now, the question then is, how does all of this connect with analytics at the end of the day? Because our focus is on analytics, right? So how does it all connect with analytics? Let's get a small introduction about that. Now, one of the things that all of you need to know is that with the introduction of technology, with the introduction of devices, computers, applications, what has increased is the consumption and the production of information and data, right? Now, imagine this conversation we're having. We have about 100 people here. You all are typing on the chat, the Q&A. I'm talking to you. You can see me. You can see my slides. Now, all this is translating into data, right? So this is the data of 100 people. Now we have maybe 7+ billion people in the world. Maybe 70-80% of them have access to technology. So imagine the amount of data that is being created every single day. It's like a big impact that is, on us each and every day. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is not a small amount. It's a massive amount of data, and it's not something that one can imagine that one can work with by themselves, right? It's huge, and indeed, it is like an avalanche of data that we create every single day. This is what is actually happening on our computer systems. Now, because of this influx of data or the huge amount of data that we have, very famously, this quote is being said by a lot of people: data is the new oil. And that's because it is now helping drive number of things in the organization. If you take another example where you're looking at influx of data in real time, media, streaming websites that you use on a daily basis can generate massive amount of data in a few seconds. So you'll see that in 30 seconds, you're generating close to 700,000 gigabytes of data. That is very huge. And I mean, you would not be able to imagine that this would actually happen. So scale that down to even 1 millionth or 1/100th of the amount of data that you are supposed to deal with on a day-to-day basis. That itself, we need to understand how we can optimize it, how we can make things better. Now, data and the use of data is in things that we see around us every day, right? Google Maps is always telling us how much time it takes to get from one point to the other. What are the different directions that we can take? Weather reports always give us a forecast of what's gonna, the weather be like a few days down the line. So if you're planning a barbecue and it's going to rain, will you still go or not? Right? That's what you can see. Stock prices, right? So all these things are things that you are interacting with on a daily basis. But what you need to know is behind all of these applications that you are witnessing, it is the data and the analytics of the data that is actually helping you bring all this. So imagine that you're living in a sea of data which is all scattered and unstructured and cluttered, right? And your task is to learn about this particular application called analytics, which will help shape, structure the data, and ultimately help you to take decisions, right? So why does analytics become an important tool? Because it is that bridge that allows you to structure and shape the data in such a way that decisions become easy. So that is why it is one of the key reasons the importance of analytics in this particular space becomes more and more prominent day in and day out. Now, if we talk about the hype cycle of emerging technologies, by the way, this is the hype cycle in 2021. The 2022 hype cycle has already evolved. But if we talk about the last couple of years, you will notice that the last couple of years have focused a lot on analytics and advanced analytics, right? And data in general. So it is important, if we are not at that level yet, to catch up, because we don't want to be left behind, right? Emerging technologies for 2022 is starting to go more into the use of analytics for a number of other things. Now, the question is, this analytics is comprised of two important words, right? Data and analytics. The question then becomes, what does each mean? Data, as you all know, is nothing but information in some form, right? A form that either you can define quantitatively or qualitatively, right? It could be numbers, it could be words, observations, sentences that you speak. And further, these can be categorized into multiple types. We're not going to get there, but know that data can come in from different sources. Your phone can generate data, your TV can generate data, a radio station can generate data, and data can be generated by different things. Now, all these different applications, systems are generating different forms of data. So that is why you have these number of different data types, right? Data types which are structured, unstructured, real-time, natural language, time series. Now, which one of these do you deal with in your organization, or do you recognize any of this in your organization? Just hit me up on the chat if you do, and key in some of those key ones you are dealing with on a daily basis. It'll be good to have some interaction. That way, you and I can connect better. So if you recognize any of these, just put it down on the chat, right? And we can then take it from there, right? So real-time data. Thank you so much. So now the problem then becomes, we have so many different types of data. How are we going to deal with it? And how are we going to develop systems to deal with data on a day-to-day basis, right? Thank you for your replies on the chat. So our management always comes down to data. So, I mean, there are a few things we can, but a couple of important and immediate things that we can do are, number one, we can do something called exploratory data analysis. Very simply put, you're exploring the data so that you can find something. Now, what are you expecting to find? You're expecting to find something useful that you can take action on, right? Now, at the same time, what you can do is you can create reports, you can create dashboards so that the higher management can see, right? And lastly, you can also think about the future, right? You can think about how my data is going to help me 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. And that's how you can derive new inferences. Inferences implying you are trying to derive something which will allow you to take decisions for the future, right? Now, data in the business is everywhere, right? In your organization, you can see that across different departments, you have data. Across various industries, you have data. So it is important to understand a little down the line how analytics is actually affecting these different businesses, right? Today, there is not a single line of business which does not require or which does not use data on a day-to-day basis. Everybody does, right? From the smallest of SMEs to the largest of MNCs, everybody's using data, right? Now, what is analytics, right? That's the second part of the word data analytics, right? Now, we all know what it means, right? The word is very simple to understand. We use it in our day-to-day conversations, right? It is nothing but, to put it in very simple terms, a methodology or a way to extract meaningful information from the data, right? So the keywords that you notice on this particular slide are meaningful and discover. Now, why do we want to do this? Because we want effective decision-making in the organization at the end of the day. That's the third keyword you need to understand. So the next time anybody asks you what is analytics, it's nothing but discovering meaningful patterns for effective decision-making, right? That's what analytics is about. What you need to make sure, though, is that none of these three parts are missing when you're doing analytics, right? When you analyze the data, you shouldn't come out and say, hey, I don't discover anything, or I'm not doing any discovery, or I'm not able to take decisions, right? If you're missing any of these critical parts, then there's something not right. Now, for people that have seen analytics grow, it is quite exciting to see the breadth and to which analytics has matured today. Earlier on, maybe a few decades ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, right, 1970s, 80s, maybe around there, the most critical thing that people wanted to analyze was trying to figure out what happened in the past. And this was done using data that was collected or data that they had at their disposal at that point in time. Now, as technology matured, people wanted to know a little more, and we always want to know more. So people started questioning the why. They said, okay, now that we know the what, let's try to figure out the why. Now that allowed people to not only focus on the historical markers, but also now focus on why something happened by looking at other things surrounding the data, right? Trying to find factors which affected it. So that was at that stage where people were very excited and then they wanted to keep knowing more and more. Now, technology took some more time to mature. And once it reached a point where we are today, we are now starting to ask the question, what will happen in the future, right? And then we are trying to optimize that. We are trying to make it the best case scenario, right? So when we look at the weather, we say, okay, it's going to rain on Saturday. I had something outdoor planned. Now I need to, have a contingency plan for what happens if it actually does rain. And most of the times it does end up. So you always have a backup plan saying, I'm going to book something indoor as well. Now, these are things which is made possible because of analytics and technology maturing. To put it in a more simpler perspective, what is at the most simplified form of analytics is descriptive analytics, right? That's the most simplified form, where we are describing the data in order to figure something out. Diagnostic analytics is trying to question the why, right? Why did something happen? That we're trying to diagnose the problem. Now, let's say there's a light not working in your house. You're trying to diagnose why the light is not working. Is it the switch? Is it the light? Is it the connection to the light? That's what you're trying to figure out. Predictive analytics is what will happen in the future, right? So we are predicting the future, making sure that we are able to figure it out with the help of data. And prescriptive analytics is optimizing your future, right? Trying to prescribe the best case for how you make sure the situation is in your favor. So this, in a more simplified form, is this, right? And these are the key terms that you need to be aware about. Now, most prominently across the industry, people would talk about descriptive analytics and predictive analytics as a main keyword, right? And that's what we will try to look into as well in a little while. Now, the key thing to understand is we do have descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and all the other forms. What is the cycle of working with the data such that I can make this possible? Is it a one-step process? Is it a two-step process? Is it simple? Is it difficult? Well, it is not very difficult and it is not a single-step process, right? It's somewhere in the middle. It is a multi-step process because we all know that everything needs to start off with first having a problem, right? Having a business problem. If you don't have a business problem, then why are you building a solution, correct? So you don't need to even build a solution if you don't have a problem. So the first stage is always to frame your hypothesis or frame the business problem. Now, once you've done that, then we go into preparation of the data. We spoke about it earlier that data is very unstructured, not in the right form always. We're going to spend a lot of time trying to prepare it, get it in the right form, right? And you hear a lot about data engineers, and these are the kind of people who work to preparing the data, engineering the data in the right form. Now, post that is when we get into analytics, right? We analyze the data. And once we have data in the right form, analyzing it is very simple. Post that, we go into interpretation, mainly trying to figure out what the data is telling us, what are the key insights, and then find ways to communicate that with the stakeholders. Now, every step in this workflow is important, each and every step, right? You can't skip any step and go to the next. If you do that, you are actually not doing it the right way. Now, if we talk about descriptive analytics in general, then we already know that it helps answer the question, what happened, right? And that's based on the historical data or the past data that we have. But what we need to understand that descriptive analytics is mainly done using two important components of analytics, right? The visualization aspect and the storytelling aspect. The visualization aspect of analytics is what helps you interpret the data more effectively, right? That's what we saw in this slide, visualization. The communication part happens through the storytelling aspect, wherein you are communicating the visuals in a right form. So that's why these two parts go hand in hand, are very important. We do this to derive insights, and insights obviously are something that every organization, every individual is looking to understand and as a result, be able to take action, right? If you are not able to take action, then your insights are a waste of time, your observations are a waste of time, your whole journey is not fruitful, right? For example, let's say your light is not working at home. I cited the example before, I'll just take that, right? So you find out that my switch is spoiled, right? The switch is spoiled, and that's why it's not working. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to go and change the switch. That's the action. Now, if you don't change the switch, then why do you, I mean, how does it even make sense that you know the light is not working, you don't want to change the switch? So you might as well have not known that the light is working, right? So your whole journey to finding that out becomes redundant if you don't take action, right? And at the same time, your better half is also going to shout at you, right? That's a consequence, not an action. I'll give you another relatable example of Netflix, right? If you watch Netflix, just shout out a yes on the chat to me. I know everybody does, but if you do and you're honest about it, shout out. Anyway, none of the other people can see your chat because it's all only to host or panelists. Don't worry about that. That's just because the webinar is designed that way, specifically so that the answers just come to me, right? All right, so I see a lot of yeses. That's good. Don't worry, I will try to end off on time so you can actually go watch. But Netflix is something that I love because, I mean, not for the shows, but for the technology, right? The way it has evolved over a period of time is mind-boggling, right? Now, if you have been an early user of Netflix, you will know that when Netflix first came out, Netflix took data from the customers and they started to improve their platform. So one of the things they did was that they took data from the customers and found out that customers are not watching the entire video. They are skipping some parts of the video, right? They're only watching 90 to 95%. What are they skipping? Two things that we all relate to: title, role, and credits. We also know we do it. What did they do? They said, you know what? We'll just make things simple for the user. We'll put a few buttons there. Users can press, and then users can basically just skip. And Netflix then said, okay, now if people don't watch those things, I don't really care. What I care about is, do they watch the content in the middle? That became their benchmark. So that was data collection by them, the insights that they generated and the action that they took. If today you did not have these and they did not take the action, you would still be frustrated trying to move that timeline to where you wanted, right? So to put it into perspective, into a simple image, if you have data in a very raw and unstructured form, you need to sort it, right, in a way that it looks better. Then you need to arrange it and present it such that people understand what they're looking at. Now, when you put it together with the help of a story, then obviously people are going to understand and relate to it even more. And at the end of the day, if it is made into something useful, that's the action that you're taking, right? So you're using the same data to get to different stages. And ultimately, what actionable implies is that you are actually making something out of it, right? Now, the second half, or the second aspect of analytics, is predictive. This is quite interesting because this is where the world is going to today, right? And we all know predictive answers the question of what will happen in the future. Now, I know a number of you are asking, will the slides be shared? I will probably answer that at the end, after getting in touch with the NTUC LearningHub folks. I can't promise you that, but what you can do is take away what we are doing today if the slides are not going to be shared, right? So we'll try to answer that towards the end once I have a visibility of that. Now, getting back to this, one of the fathers, or let's say not one of the fathers, let's say the father of AI, John McCarthy, what he said was that the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs, is very important because we as humans have a certain limited capability, and we need to be able to go to that next level. And to go to that next level, we need to have intelligent machines, right? Now, this intelligence, which is created artificially, right, with the help of computer systems, is what is called artificial intelligence, right? The reason it's called artificial is because we are creating it. It's not being created by itself. And human intelligence is what we have. Artificial or machine intelligence is what machines have or computers have. Now, this artificial intelligence is what helps with predictive analytics, right? So it's one of the key components of predictive analytics. Now, within artificial intelligence, you have various applications to help you do that, like machine learning, deep learning, and so on, right? We won't get into the core of it. We'll go through a few more slides, not get into the core of it, but understand that these are some of the applications that help with predictive analytics, right? Now, machine learning is a key one because it is one of those bigger branches of artificial intelligence that helps with study and construction of systems that can learn from the data. Now, imagine this. In order to do prediction, right, that it is going to rain tomorrow, for example, I need to know how I know it's going to rain tomorrow, right? It is not intuition. It is not a guess. It is some decision that is taken based on evidence historically, right? Or that I've seen that this might happen or it has happened in the past. That's what predictive analytics is. Now, for us, it is difficult to understand, store historical data, and then predict. But machines can do that because we have developed systems and applications to enable that today. So how machine learning is different from traditional programming is that in traditional programming, right? For example, in descriptive analytics, we provide some data and we say, okay, I want to come up with a chart or a visual, and the computer comes up with a visual. And then we study the visual and we try to understand what the visual is telling us. On the other hand, machine learning is basically taking in data, taking in historical output. It's saying, you know what, feed me with what decisions were taken in the past. And what I will come up with is a program that can take decisions for the future. So that's what machine learning is. And machine learning is nothing but another fancier term for predictive analytics, right? Why is it required? Is because number one, as I mentioned, lack of human experts, right? Today, all of us are trending towards becoming more technology people, right? Programmers, analysts. But not a lot of people say, hey, you know, I want to learn finance. I want to learn about core logistics. Not a lot of people do. But that is not becoming a roadblock. Why? Because we as technology people are able to collate information from all those people who know about this and then train machines to understand things better. The second reason is because human expertise is black box, right? So if I ask you what is going to happen tomorrow, you will give me one answer. If I ask another person, they will give me a different answer. So every human is a black box. They have their own way of thinking. They have their own perception, own intuition, own way of understanding their past to put forward the future. So we don't want to be messed up in that black box. We want to make sure that we have all the knowledge and we create a system which is, you know, far beyond this, just one person, right? It has the knowledge of 100, 200,000 people. Third thing is, it is difficult for us to keep up with things that are changing so fast today, right? Technology is evolving. Today banks are saying, oh, you know, if you remember DBS, you had a small key card or you had a small, panel where you used to key in numbers to, get to a particular system, go into your account. Today, mostly that has become redundant, and you have like digital systems to allow you to do the same thing. Now that has evolved. How are the backend systems going to keep up? How are humans going to keep up with that evolution? So to cater to this rapidly changing phenomena, we have predictive analytics or systems that can do it. And then personalization, customization has become very key. Every person wants something that they like, right? Earlier, 30 years, 40 years back, it was not the case. Today, everybody wants things that are more personalized. It is very difficult for me to give you all 100 people 100 different things, right? But I can ask a system to do that because they might know you, they know your preferences, they know your choices, and they're able to do that, right? That's what you face when you shop online. So this is important for you to know, that why do we even need to learn how to do this today, right? Now, as I said before, machine learning is an application which allows you to do predictive analytics. Within machine learning, you have a lot of different ways to do it. Now, these are all the different ways. We won't get into the depth, but just know that it comprises of ways to do different things, right? Predictive analytics can be in different forms. It can be predicting the weather. It can be recommending products to you on Shopee or Lazada. It can be recommending whether or approving your loan or your credit card. Predictive analytics can be in all these different forms. You need ways to do all of this, and that's what this slide talks about. But that's for when you start learning a little more, and then when you're deep diving into that. So a few of these examples which machine learning critically solves. You can think about Changi Airport, right? You go there today, you have your face scanned, you have your thumbprint scanned, you're in. Where was all this 20 years ago, right? So that's a very good example of the facial recognition, right? Where the computer is predicting that it's actually you. Credit card transactions are being blocked by predictive analytical systems, right? They're analyzing that it's not you or it's somebody else, and in real time is able to block. Stock price prediction, right? A lot of us here could be investors in stocks, right? So you use systems to kind of see how things are going to move and maximize your earnings. So all these are examples of how predictive analytics works. And today, this has evolved into movies and evolved into finance, logistics, shipping, retail, everywhere, right? So each and every industry that you know. So that brings us to a point where I am going to talk about some examples of what analytics has been doing for different industries, right? Some of this you may relate to, some of this you may not be directly associated with, but you still know, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, different industries use analytics for different things, manufacturing and so on, right? So the examples that I will be showing you would be a subset, right? Not everything in the world, but a small subset of them. If we talk about manufacturing, right? Manufacturing, because today the government lays a lot of emphasis on smart manufacturing and ways to go green, sustainability, and things like this. So it's important to understand how analytics is playing a key role there. Today, in the manufacturing sector, we have a lot of sensors, right? Sensors that are smart. Now, these sensors are relaying information to my platform or my application. Now, with the help of this information that is relayed back through sensors, systems are analyzing this data and helping improve efficiency on the fly, efficiency of production, efficiency of maybe something on the assembly line, of the supply chain, whatever it may be, right? But it's all happening very fast in real time. Why? Because I have data being relayed and I have applications that are working on the data to do analytics, descriptive and predictive, right? So just a fact, may not be applicable everywhere, but there is a 25% reduction in the amount of downtime if you make use of these methods, right? Especially in this industry. Healthcare is another big one, right? Now we all know MRI scans are basically used to do 3D medical scanning or imaging, right? So whenever you have, you probably think you have an issue and you want to go get to an MRI, it does a 3D medical imaging and gives you results. Now, humans are basically studying these and they're giving you diagnosis, right? Now, algorithms are starting to be trained to take this input from the doctors, from the healthcare professionals, and then trying to predict what the outcome of an MRI scan is or what the MRI scan actually is telling you. And this can save time for the healthcare professional. And because of saving time, it can also be very critical in certain cases, right? Because humans might take much longer in trying to find out the result. Now, again, this is an example of predictive analytics, right? Outbreak prediction, right? Illnesses being predicted by governments around the world. They're gathering data on different diseases, flu, so on and so forth. Information is being shared, and then decisions are being made with the help of all this information, right? Even today in Singapore, we collect data on outbreaks. We collect data on dengue, for example, and then the government gives you a follow-up action that, hey, be careful in this area. Make sure you are following following the right sanitary hygiene methodology and so on. So all that again is descriptive analytics. Then predictive analytics tries to predict, okay, there can be more outbreak or less outbreak here. I mean, Singapore has its very own COVID dashboard, MOH, other people have also put it out, for example. Again, this is descriptive analytics. Retail is very interesting because retail is a very, very fast growing sector, right? One of the most important applications of analytics is targeted marketing, right? So targeted marketing happens online, even offline. In some stores, there is targeted marketing that is being piloted and tried out. But that's a talk for another day. But targeted marketing is a critical application of retail. And again, it involves a lot of descriptive and predictive analytics. People or systems are analyzing you, and then they are trying to figure out what you like. Another key aspect is customer segmentation, right? So 10 people are going to get something, another 10 people are going to get something different. Now, why are these 10 people getting something different? That's because they have been analyzed. And it's, the analysis outcome says that these people are more inclined towards product A, these people are more inclined towards product B. So the way you behave online gives a lot of data to the consumption, to the people who are consuming the data, right? The applications, the backend systems, the organization that you are shopping with, for example. And then they use it to improve their marketing efficiency with you. So I'm sure everybody here has encountered some targeted advertisements, right? Be it on social media, on your phone. And if you have, just shout out on the chat. I'm sure you have. I mean, I personally have. If I go and try to look up something, or I'm looking for something, I will start getting that in a lot of places. So all this happens, right? And many of the times what we do is we end up going and buying the product, right? So I mean, that is obviously what they would want as well. Demand forecasting. So demand forecasting basically enables organizations to predict, with the help of historical data, how much do I need to stock up such that I don't lose out on money because of overstocking and understocking, right? That means I need to be able to predict, okay, these are the customers who are going to come and purchase from me. So demand forecasting helps retailers become more profitable, right, by analyzing the data. So Nestle did this in order to reduce inventory stock up. So they did not want to use a lot of, I mean, they don't want to stock up on a lot of inventory because maybe some of their products are have a shelf life and so on. So they reduce their, or they could optimize their stock using analytics. It's used in audits. So in audits, whenever you're auditing different systems, analysis will help you look for fraud, errors, anomalies, outliers, and so on, and can kind of put these at check. It can help you with, payroll and timesheet analytics, more like HR analytics, and it brings a lot of value to compliances, unauthorized things from happening, and so on. Sports is very interesting because in sports, analytics has become very, very big today. So for those of you who are Formula One fans, Formula One teams, they integrate the data coming in from their cars through a lot of sensors, and they are generating millions of data points every second and optimizing the in-race strategy, right? Do I brake 1 second in advance, 2 seconds in advance? What do I do? And so on. For those of you who are soccer fans, soccer is helping a lot today with analyzing opponent strengths, the way they play, weather conditions, how do I optimize my own play style, and so on and so forth, right? And all these then further helps in asking and answering questions, right? Then you have supply chain management. Supply chain, again, I did mention this earlier as well, that analytics helps a lot because it can help you understand your transportation costs, warehouse operational costs, optimize your efficiency at the warehouse, and so on and so forth. I mean, if you've looked at or if you're part of the National Day rally recently, you would have seen a lot of guided automated vehicles there, which are basically analyzing a lot of data in and around them to be able to function as well. That's one of the key things. And then if we look at the megaport and what's going to be there and so on, and how much of analysis would be required to optimize all of these things. Now, all of these are applications that are currently in place, and organizations are always trying to put new things, optimize them. Different sports have different ways of doing their analysis, and they're always trying to improve their accuracy and improve how they can do things better, right? Now, remember that it's all about the data. The more the data you have, the more you can make do with it, right? That's why understanding the data and the technology is important. Now, what are some of the current trends, and why should you learn analytics, right? Now, analytics is growing in demand, right? You would have heard over the recent times, a lot of announcements have been made in terms of what are the key pillars of technology and infrastructure today. What are some of the growing talent pools that are required for organizations to function more efficiently? And data is one of the key parts in all these conversations that happen, right? A lot of organizations are setting their bases here, right? Especially after recent events that have happened around the world. You would notice a lot of big companies opening up here as well, opening up or setting base here. So analytics has become a key, growing demand. And it's not only analytics, but data and its applications in general, right? So any big company is going to employ data people to do data analysis, data gathering, data collection, data engineering, and storytelling and communication of data, right? Every firm today is transforming digitally, becoming a digital first organization, and they're always on the lookout for these kind of people. Secondly, is that organizations are obviously trying to be ahead of one another, and being digitally ahead or ahead in the field of data is a key advantage, right? Because this helps an organization stay ahead of the game, helps them improve their business efficiency and profitability, right? Data science is a growing job, is a growing market, right? There's a lot more in data science that needs to be done. So because of that, you will see a lot of demand and less supply for that industry, right? Data science is now becoming a center of decision making. So you will see that organizations are now relying on the use of data and data-driven technologies to become the heart of the business to take key decisions. So it is important for one to know how to leverage on this. And there's no better time than now. And every time I talk, I'm just going to say the same thing, right? Because if you wait even a few more months, technology is changing again. So there's no better time than to start now to adopt this particular policy. Again, data science always helps in business optimization. It is a very significant contribution to company improvement. And hence, what one can expect when they are in the field of data is rapid advancement and learning in data science. And the best part about data science is that learning is always flexible because there are so many technologies, so many new things to learn. You always start from the basics, foundational level, application level, then grow up from there and pick up more and more as you are on the job as well. It's cutting edge technology, right? Current trends, if you look at, you will see IoT, sensors, smart devices, all these are being rapidly adopted everywhere. Mobile phones are evolving, right? You will see a lot more functionality coming on your phones. So technology has become very cutting edge. And as a result of this, the consumption and production of data is also increasing. Because of this, we need people to process this data, right? And try to figure out how they can make use of this. So, I mean, all this being said, we are all headed in that direction that I spoke about earlier, right? A direction where analytics is going to be used to do a lot more than just what it's doing today, right? From automated vehicles being able to pick up, different objects, to the way you actually search on Google, right, is evolving. So just to give you some knowledge, whenever you search on Google, have you ever thought about how is Google even giving you search results? And I mean, there are millions of results that come out of Google, right? So they use an application based on predictive analytics, based on natural language processing, and it's called BERT. And they use this to predict what you're going to type. So whenever you start typing on Google, you'll see, okay, it shows you what you might type, right? Then it tries to summarize things and give you results and so on. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes which you might not be aware about. And this is what is constantly improving as well. You have systems that are now able to develop or use artificial intelligence to create images from text, right? From textual description. And you should all definitely go and look at this DAL-E system, which is based on some of the latest technology. Now, all this, is where the world is headed, right? In terms of technology, in terms of application. So we need to catch up. And now you can catch up by learning the more conventional tools like, let's say, Excel, Power BI, or you can catch up by learning more open source programming tools like Python, for example, right? Or R, for example. Now, these technologies all have their own different applications and they all have their own strengths. right? So how much do you want to explore is up to you, but definitely all these tools, like even traditional tools like Excel today, have a lot of power in what they can actually do, and people don't realize that because they're not exposed to it, and that's one of the key reasons. These some of the cutting edge technologies are all listed here, right? Microsoft tools, Tableau, for example, all your different cloud technologies. They all play a key part in helping data, right, or helping perform operations on data. Same with programming tools. Python is like the most popular, lucrative, open source, free to use, and simple to learn. Then you have a bunch of others listed down here. So it does not matter what technology you pick up, because at the end of the day, two things matter. Number one is what is trending, what is the industry using today, right? What are they adopting? And obviously, what is your interest, right? If your interest is in programming, non-programming, if you want to choose between the one, what would you more go for? Obviously, programming is more flexible. You can do a lot more things, but you have to start learning from the fundamentals, right? So it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of preference. But to give you a heads up, this is what the industry is using. This is where we are at today. So what about you take a call on how you and tech want to relate with each other, right? Now, when you get married, you obviously see a few things, right, before you get married. So similarly, when you get married to tech, what are the few things that you need to see? So firstly, what is your objective? Are you looking for new opportunities? Are you staying more relevant to what's going on in the industry? Are you just curious? These questions will give you the answer to, hey, what do I want to learn, right? What am I interested in? There are many different buzzwords around, AI, robotics. Today, you'll hear a lot more metaverse, blockchain, Web3, data mining, machine learning. All these are terms that you hear, right? So it is important to find out where you fit in, what you want to do. How is it relevant to you, your organization? Okay, where do you want to create a difference? And there is no question about whether there are opportunities for you in this field, right? There are numerous opportunities for you in this field, especially because it's growing, and especially because data is never going to stop. Since data is not going to stop, there is analytics is not going to stop. Data science is always going to be there, right? There are a number of opportunities in various industry sectors. This is from a lot of surveys that are done. And the data space is not limited to just data analyst or data scientist or something like that, right? You have data engineers, you have data scientists, big data managers, machine learning people. So you, depending on the scope of what you know and where you want to go, it basically will, you basically have to figure out what you want to do, right, towards the end of it, or what is the direction you want to go into. Future focused career. So data, for you is a very future focused career because it is growing. It's a very promising career path. It puts you in a position where you can influence the company, and it's always going to be evergreen for the next few decades, right? So I think my suggestion to all of you would be that you should immerse yourself in this industry. Especially because data analytics, data science is the key driver of decision making, and it's the bridge between technology and no technology, right? Non-tech and tech. It's the bridge. So doing this, gives you a space on that bridge, and then you are able to join the dots and kind of cover the spectrum, right? And in terms of, if you talk about Singapore government, or if you talk about the push is always towards a strong future-oriented workforce, right? Now, Singapore has always been known for its technology, for it being a hub. Like it's now it's called the Silicon Valley of the East, right? So because of that, you have a very strong technology background in terms of the government of the country. There is a very strong growth in terms of, or a push in terms of the workforce becoming more relevant to the industry. So you should kind of hop onto this bandwagon and go with it. So I think that's all I wanted to cover for today. So that was about 1 hour, and I hope that in this 1 hour, you can take back a few things, try to understand your relevance to the industry, and also, it would be great to see all of you jumping on this bandwagon of data and kind of going in that direction. So thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you all had a good time. Now, just hang on, because we're now going to start the Q&A, and I'm also going to pass it back to Edmund first in order to show you a few other things. But do hang on for the Q&A.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Mr. Aditya, for sharing your valuable insights. Indeed, data analytics is very important in today's digital transformation space. Allow me to share just one slide before we can go into the Q&A session. Okay, you can see my slide here. Okay, we have a few QR codes for you. For those people who want to jumpstart into the data analytics course, we have this on the very extreme left side, we have a QR code. There's the data analytics fundamentals using the MS Excel for people who do not want to deep dive into what I call coding. We have a fundamentals of doing data analytics using MS Excel, okay? And we, of course, in the middle of the QR code, okay, you can actually screenshot this in your computer, okay? And you can use your mobile phone and scan the QR code, okay? Our course and consultants will be right there, stand by for you. If you have any questions or maybe other courses that you'd like to learn more about data analytics, you can actually scan those QR codes, and you can actually, our course consultant will get back to you as well. And also, on the extreme right-hand side, if you think that fill out forms is not your type of person, you will have a WhatsApp QR code that you can actually scan, and our course consultants will be ready and stand by to give you all the information that you need. Whether is it you are more of an advanced level, you want to take up more of the Python programming, you are the type that you really want to jumpstart into data science, yes, this is for you. Yes, do just scan the QR codes, and our course consultants will be there to answer all the questions and need of courses that you want to attend. Okay, yeah. So okay, so we will jump straight into the Q&A session, Adi. So we'll just have, I think, most of the questions that are pertaining to the data analytics. Maybe you'd like to pick on some of them.
Sure. Okay, so go ahead and put your questions. I'll try to take them as they come in, right? So please feel free. So I'll start from the first question on the top, right? So what is Industry 5.0? So Industry 5.0 is, in short, a very human-centric design where humans and machines start working more hand in hand. So it is going to bridge the gap between humans and machines even more, right? So we are going to start working alongside robots, for example. That's where Industry 5.0 is going, right? And in Industry 5.0, you will see more of robots, for example, coming to work with humans and helping them and so on. So it's becoming more human-centric, and it's trying to make or bridge the gap between humans and machines even further, right? Between data versus big data, Industry 4.0 or now we are into big data already, right? So is there another definition of big data? See, big data is nothing but a term which means that you don't have enough capacity to handle it, right? You have to handle the data. That becomes big data. There is no definition of how much data is big data. Is it 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 5 terabyte? Nobody knows. But it's basically defined as, if you cannot handle the capacity of data that is coming in, it's big data. We are all with big data, and we are writing algorithms and technology to handle it, right? Both in terms of volume as well as real-time velocity of the data. Right, hopefully that answers your question. which data analytics tool to start learning, right? So I think there's another similar question to this. Do you have any suggestion to people like me, has no IT background, want to learn data analytics? So as I mentioned, there are two different paths, right? One is you take the non-programming path. That's where you can learn tools like, let's say, Excel or Power BI or Tableau. That will allow you to leverage on what you know, as well as start understanding from the fundamentals if you don't, right? So there is a fundamental level, there is an advanced level. If you are more inclined towards learning programming from the fundamentals up towards data analytics, that path is also possible. That will give you more leverage in the future, because programming can give you a lot more flexibility and access to other things you can do. So it's two parts. Either it's non-programming based, like Excel, Tableau, Power BI, or it's programming based, which is Python, right? So if you have no IT background, you start with the fundamentals. You can start with Excel, learning analytics, and then progressing to Python and learning analytics there. I think that'll be the right path for you.
Here we have one question from Ramesh. He says, well, how about accuracy on data inputs on sports like cricket?
Okay. So see, now different sports, right? Now cricket is something that I do watch from time to time, but you would have seen the technology there is evolving as well, right? Now you have, and the reason the reason accuracy is increasing is because you will notice that the number of sensors and devices that are actually placed to pick up more information have increased, right? So you have sensors close to the players, you have sensors close to the wickets, you have sensors sitting far away, you have cameras doing different things. Now the accuracy increases with the increase of the information that is being gathered from all this. And definitely it has increased today in comparison to what it was earlier, right? And the reason for that is because in sports like cricket, there is a very easy definition to an outcome. It is not very unknown. The outcome is, the definition of the outcome is very clear. Hence, adding up to that outcome is not that difficult. So it is definitely increasing and will keep improving.
Okay, we have one more question. Is data analytics useful in the finance and accounting sector?
No, absolutely. In finance and accounting, right? Data analytics is used for a number of things, right? If we talk about finance, right? Finance again can be divided into different parts, right? In finance, you can have loans, for example, where analytics can help in figuring out how your organization is doing, what kind of customers are taking loans, what kind of customers you need to target, so on and so forth, right? If you talk about other areas of finance, like credit, for example, or investment, for example, analytics can help with all of these different operations and trend, or not trends, but data gathered in these different areas. It can help both from a descriptive analytics, because you are going to maybe look at information, or it can help with predictive analytics because you can forecast few things, right? Risk is another big area where it can help. So risk analytics, for example. So accounting again is similar, because when you have information and data that you're gathering from there, you could do risk analysis, you can do strategy analysis, you can do a lot of other things, right? Personalization and so on.
Okay, is there any more questions?
I think there's one question on the Q&A.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can access that.
Mm.
Okay. So this question is based around the data laws, I think. Okay, so it says, what is the law that surrounds data in Singapore and its stage of law development with respect to data? PDPR is what I heard for Australia. So you have the PDPA here as well, which is a Personal Data Protection Act, which is by the PDPC, right? The Personal Data Protection Commission of Singapore. So this is basically protecting identification of people, right? And data that is PII, or personally identifying to people, and organizations have certain level of access to this. So PDPA covers this, and yeah, that's similar to the PDPR in Australia. Now, with respect to AI and AI in general, there are a lot of ethics around it. Like data and AI have different ethics, which is not part of PDPA as such, but they're more from an ethical standpoint, right? And that's something you can dive into as well. So there is a lot of data protection guidelines, data protection overview by PDPA, which you can go through.
I think we have no more questions. Okay, I shall stop sharing. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the webinar series by NTUC LearningHub. We thank you for your time, and thank you, Mr. Aditya, for having to share valuable insights on the data science, how data science can actually help you and might want to kickstart your career in data science as well. Indeed, it's very exciting. We want to thank you all of your time here and all your participants in coming for NTUC LearningHub. We hope this webinar can help you and kickstart your career in data science, or maybe you want to have a skills upgrade. Come talk to us, all right? About the QR codes that we flashed up for you, and scan them, and we will contact you. And hopefully, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. And from here, all of us are the panelists, myself, Mr. Aditya, and the rest of our colleagues here at NTUC LearningHub, we wish you a wonderful afternoon ahead. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.